Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us. Team Mosso at the1916company.com. It is in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Reach out to us at tmosso at the1916company.com for purchase and pricing details. Today we're discussing the second IWC diving watch depth gauge. This, launched in 2009, is the Aquatimer Deep Two. The follow-up to the 1999 GST Deep One. It uses a mechanical diving gauge with memory to permit diving safely as well as with a full suite of information. Meant as a backup dive timer and dive depth reference, this watch is also a mechanical watch that works as a conventional dive watch. So it's functional on two different levels depending on your area and extent of expertise. It is large. 46 millimeters in diameter. It's 15.6 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip. You can see that it is 54 millimeters, and from end link to end link, the total distance across the wrist, 58.8, with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. You can see the condition of the watch is good. There was a pre-owned timepiece that has some marks of wear that are in evidence around the case, but then again, this is a pure tool watch, so that's kind of in character. Now, being a large watch at 58.8 end link to end link, you can see it just about overwhelms my wrist. Now, you can put it on a strap, which will cause it to wear a little bit smaller, but you got to remember that visibility is key to the watch's function. This is a purposefully large watch. Between the hardware that it has to store and the legibility that its purpose mandates, this is actually the look. This is how it's supposed to look. So I could wear this on my wrist. It would be secure. It would be comfortable. It's big, and you've got to make your peace with the size because this is a purposefully large watch. But a wrist my size and up, again, 16 centimeters circumference and up. You'll also notice it's not quite as thick as a thing like this could be at 15.6, so it will actually fit underneath the jacket cuff. And if you want to improve fit a little bit more, you can put it on a strap and swap out the bracelet. So let's get a little bit closer and take a look at the bracelet. You can see an integrating end link mates it to the case. There's no daylight between them. Matches the slope of the lugs and the curve of the case, all in satin steel with a few well-chosen polished accents, primarily inside the clasp and around the periphery of the bezel and lugs. Vertical satination on the case bands with distinctly angular lugs broken out from the case profile. Taking a look at the bottom, you can see this Brogioli constructed bracelet and clasp. Features every single link removable, a long-running feature that debuted on the GSTs in the 90s. We have here a clasp with a combination of satin finish externally, perlé internally with some polished accents, and then twin trigger release so it can't pop open without firm application of both release triggers. Unlike a lot of diving clasps, this one is quite thin. If you want a higher level of adjustability, again, spec a strap out. The timepiece, including a screw-down crown and 120-meter water resistance, features IWC's second-generation mechanical depth gauge. Now, there's a little release right here so that you can gain access to the mechanism. Taking a quick look, you can see how if I apply a little bit of finger pressure, I can begin to escalate the indication of the depth, and that the depth indicator will revert to 0 when the pressure is removed, but the depth memory, that is the maximum depth reached, will remain in evidence. I'll show you how this works. We have this wonderfully solid little push button release system here, but we have a depth memory reset button, and that trigger is immediately adjacent. The watch is 120 meters water resistant, and the diving depth, as indicated, maxes out at 50 meters. That is why you see that there's a little red line at 50. That is because that is the maximum safe diving depth for an amateur diver per IWC and diving authorities. That is why they rated this as a 50-meter depth gauge, even though the watch itself is water resistant to 120. We'll do a Lume shot now. And as you can see, because the bezel is sapphire capped, It's possible to protect Luminova that runs 360 degrees, making this a highly legible and highly precise bezel that allows easy determination of 5-minute increments. You can also see how the diving depth scale and the critical first 15 minutes, as well as the pertinent minute hand, are all in a contrasting lume that is set apart from the blue of the remainder of the dial and the bezel, and that's for ready recognition. I can tell you that it seems to fade a lot when you look at it through the viewfinder or the camera, but to the naked eye, it glows quite a bit more in the dark. And again, that sapphire cap giving it a rich and luxurious aesthetic, much like a Blancpain 50 Fathoms. The dial's fairly straightforward. We have a nice combination of black, white, blue, and red. And it does feature a IWC caliber 3011, which is an ETA 2892A2 in top grade, bidirectional automatic winding with a 4 Hz beat rate and a 42-hour power reserve. It features a quick set date and hacking seconds, so you can set the watch readily and rapidly to a reference time. The watch features a bezel that I will demonstrate now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 60 clicks, and it has a nice chunky detent with a large knurling externally that means it can be turned even when the hands are wet, sweaty, or gloved. An ideal diving instrument, a backup dive timer, and a backup diving depth gauge. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.